Hey everybody, Roxabox90 here with another Top 10 EDH Commander Card Countdown. So today we're going to go through the top 10 M15 Core Set Cards for the best format ever, and we're going to follow the same criteria that we've followed for pretty much all of our other lists that we've done, and we're going to start off with a bunch of honorable mentions. Now realize this list does not include any reprints, but I am going to mention that they did reprint the 5 Painlands, which are all awesome for Commander. Urborg, Tomb of Yawgmoth, fantastic cards, these play all over the place. And Court of Calling, all 8 of those technically, are amazing reprints, and if you're playing the format, you should definitely make sure you get some, at least one of each for your decks. Getting into the honorable mentions, we have quite a few, so we're going to speed through them pretty quick. We have the 2 new slivers, Sliver Hive, Sliver Hive Lord. Those 2 are going to make a big splash for sliver decks, but of course it's very narrow, just sliver decks are going to want to use those. Life's Legacy, it seems pretty good. There are better cards that we've seen before, but I think for such a low cost, it's going to see at least some play. Chief Engineer is going to be absolutely insane for the right artifact decks, giving them real crazy ramp. Polymorphous Jest is hilarious, and I think we'll have some very interesting fun times messing over one player, turning his creatures all into frogs. Very cool. Master of Predicaments reminds me a lot of Sphinx Ambassador, albeit weaker and not nearly as cool, but I think it does have some potential to see play in EDH. Resolute Archangel, a lot of fun for Flicker decks, could set them like Eternity Vessel from Zendikar, set them on a path to crazy life if you're running a Flicker deck. Even if you're not life gain decks, will probably love it. Sets them back to 40, there are lots of cards you can combo with it, and I think it will definitely see some play in some narrow decks. Avacyn, Guardian Angel, is a good card. I think she's okay as a general. As one of the 99, she's good for a stacks deck, pillow fort deck, but not really going to see a wide range of play. The Chain Veil is awesome for Super Friend builds, but I don't think, unless your deck is running at least 3 Planeswalkers, I doubt it's going to be a wide universal for every one card. Jalira, the Master Polymorphist, is really interesting. I don't like that you're forced to sacrifice a creature before the ability can happen, because that's part of the cost. I don't like that about her. I also don't like that she misses all, she's non-legendary only. That's kind of awkward. She'll see some play, but I don't think she's amazing. Chasm Skulker, he will see play. I think Nekusar is a very popular deck these days. He's amazing in that kind of deck. He's also just good in general, because if he's left alone, he will get out of hand very, very quickly. But not every deck is going to want to shoe him in, that's for sure. Spirit Bond is a really nice way to protect your Voltron, to protect your creatures. Again, a very nice pillow fort kind of card, but not every deck's going to run it. Maybe some tokens. Reclamation Sage, I think we'll see a lot of across the board, but it's an okay effect we've seen before, and I don't think every deck is going to run to shove it in. Okay, so those were the honorable mentions. Getting into the top 10 cards. Starting at number 10 with Genesis Hydra. I love Genesis Wave. I've run it in my mono green deck to death. I like this guy a lot. I think most of the time he'll end up being, you're going to have him come out and play as a huge card. I think he's a nice alternate, and I really love the design, and I think he will see a good amount of play. Number 9 is Kurkesh Onake Ancient, or Naku Ancient, or I don't know how to pronounce it, but that's not the point, because he is really interesting. He's definitely going to be a commander people want to build around. He's an artifact specific card. He's going to have lots of great synergies, lots of great combos, but he is pretty narrow for who he is. I think he will see a good amount of play. Number 8, we have Indulgent Tormentor. This guy is another one of the 5-cost demons that lets you draw a card. Much like Athreos, he has a catch-22, which is that your opponents are stuck losing something or another thing. The pay 3 life is always going to be the worst effect, which means your opponents most of the time will pick that, but it's still, I think, 3 life to prevent a card is as reasonable as Rhystic Study, and I think it does give you a decent body with long-term advantage. Then we have number 7, Yisan the Wanderer Bard. This guy, I love his design. He's really interesting. I don't like the fact that he relies on the counters to Birthing Pod-like work, because once you remove him, then you lose all the effort you've put into him. But there are lots of cards like Doubling Season that allow you to double up the counters, triple up the counters, and I think being able to search through your deck and put it straight into play gives him a lot. It'll be able to work with a pod variant that I think will be very interesting as a commander, and a possibly strong one of the 99. Number 6, we have 2 cards because I'm cheating. We have In Garrick's Wake is the main card. I think this card, it's like Plague Wind. It's another one of these huge wrath effects that really helps you. It's a key multiplayer card. A lot of black decks will probably consider this, well, almost definitely instead of Plague Wind. Being able to hit all your opponent's planeswalkers really matter these days when so many planeswalkers are good in the format. Ether Spouts is a close second for this spot. I think at instant speed wrath, it's pretty nice. What I don't love is that it's limited to attacking creatures, which means it's really only going to hit one player, and cards like Evacuation work much better in format. And of course, Cyclonic Rift is the king spot in terms of insanity wraths. 5, we are also going to put all the souls because you can't pick them out and put them on the list. It's kind of awkward. All of them are here. Their order being that I think the Soul of New Phyrexia and Soul of Innistrad are the 2 best ones by far for a more universal look at the format. I think those are the 2 that will see the most play across the board. Soul of Theros is not bad. Token decks will love it. Soul of Chandalar is also really good for mono red. Gives you long-term burn effects. Soul of Zendikar is okay. I don't love it, though it is a mana sink. And then Soul of Ravnica is by far, I think, the worst, even in format designed for this kind of thing. Soul of New Phyrexia and Soul of Innistrad I expect to see a lot of play. I think both are really good. Soul of New Phyrexia is going to see probably more universal play because it's colorless. It can fit into most decks, but Soul of Innistrad is really nice for grind and works very well in a format that lasts tens of turns. Slot 4, I put Garrick Apex Predator, and surrounding him, all the new planeswalkers. Ajani Steadfast is okay as a run-up. I think he works very well in Super Friends. Jace Living Guild Pact is not the best chase by far for the format, but it's not a horrible card, and being able to bounce any non-land permanent is very strong. Nissa Worldwake, animating lands is not nearly as powerful in a format where your opponents will take advantage of that and really penalize you potentially for using your lands as creatures. Wrath effects are very common, but being able to untap 4 forests is no joke, and I do think the right decks will want to use her. The key man of this slot, though, is Garrick Apex Predator. Yes, he's a little narrow because of his colors, but most decks running these colors will almost definitely consider him because of just how powerful he is. 7 cost planeswalker with 4 abilities. Karn Liberated is, at least in my opinion, the most powerful planeswalker in the EDH Commander format, and this guy is close, definitely closing in on him, but he's much more narrow. That's really the major difference. He can only be used in certain decks. Being said, he's freaking awesome. His abilities are pretty much all relevant, and I think he'll be seeing lots of play in the format. Number 3, we have Ob Nixilis Unshackle. This card, as I mentioned in my spoilers, is probably broken for the format just because, yes, he dies to removal like everything else. Great punchline, but he gets really strong in a multiplayer game because it's whenever any other creature dies, whether it's your creatures, your opponent's creatures, very easy for him to get very big quickly. It means he'll probably work very well as a commander. And locking down tutoring is huge for multiplayer. Really is going to kill your opponents when they take so much damage. 10 life every tutor is huge damage. Losing a creature every time you tutor is huge. He's going to warp the board around him in a multiplayer game, almost guaranteed. He hits fetch lands, he hits any kind of tutors on sticks. He's a monster house, and I'm almost worried he may potentially be banned depending on his impact. But he's definitely going to see huge amounts of play. Number 2, we have Hushwing Gryff. This card's going to hit a number of Eternal formats, though you wouldn't expect such a Hippogriff to be impacting the format. This card is massive. Flashing in, we've had things like Avid Mind Sensor, which also make a big splash when they hit the field. This card being able to flash in and prevent creatures entering the battlefield, that hurts Flicker decks. It hits a ton of stuff in format, and being so flexible to fit into so many decks, this card is huge. Now, it could be number 1 on this list. It's white, so it's slightly less universal use, but I do think it's going to see huge amounts of play, and it's very close to number 1, that's for sure. And number 1, Perilous Vaults. This card is a thing, people. Seriously. While all the colors have, green particularly has trouble with wrath effects. giving a card that all colors can have, that exiles, which is a keyword in EDH, you don't want people getting back stuff from the graveyard, exiles all non-land permanents, which leaves the lands open. Not everyone hates you. This card is very flexible. There are lots of other cards like it that stack up quite similar to it, but I think this one is going to easily join the ranks. It will help decks that have difficulty finding huge numbers of wrath effects, and it will fit into just about every deck will have the option consideration of running this card. Now, of course, it has exile it as part of its casting cost, which means if you can stop it, then you have to exile and you can never use it again. Makes it an interesting balance. I think it'll give some interesting choice in deciding when is best to use it, and also prevents recursion unless you're running something like Rift Sweeper, which there's lots of exile effects in Commander. Rift Sweeper is a popular card. This card, I think, will see lots of play in lots of decks. That's my top 10 M15 Core Set EDH Commander list. Let me know what you guys think about the list down below in the comment section. If you enjoyed the video, tap the like button. If you're new to the channel, check in and subscribe for more top 10 lists, more M15 pre-release info, and tons of other stuff coming your way. Roxybox90 signing out. See you guys next time.